Hey, 7th and 8th grade. So I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. Before I had been making y'all 2 videos per week for y'all to watch, and those included instructions on how to complete the assignments. But instead, from now on, I'm just going to be making 1 video for y'all, and this 1 video is going to be for the whole week. So it's going to include your grammar lesson along with your assignments in it. And what you have to do for the week. So before I was giving y'all 2 grammar lessons. From now on, I'm just going to be giving y'all 1 grammar lesson a week. And so again, this video is going to include that 1 grammar lesson along with what assignments you have to do for this whole week. So again, you're not going to have to watch 2 videos. You'll just be watching 1 for the week. And I'm doing this because, circumstances have made things like really difficult right now. And so I understand like y'all have your other classes and y'all have a bunch of other work, I'm sure. So I just don't want to overload you with all of that work. So I'm going to be a little more lenient on work just to make it easier on you guys during this time. So I still want you to do work and complete work. But I just want to not overload you so much. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. So now you only have to watch 1 video a week instead of 2. And I think that'll be helpful since everything will be in that 1 video. So we're going to go ahead and begin. I ended up writing your mugshot on the board, so we're going to start with that like we always do. So go ahead and pause this video if you need to, make any corrections to that mugshot. And then you can unpause it, and I'm going to go in with my red marker. So first correction I'm going to have to make is I'm going to need to capitalize the T, because that is the beginning of a sentence. The most largest bird is the ostrich. So first of all, let's take out most, because that doesn't belong there. So it needs to be the largest bird is the ostrich, which weigh needs to become weighs, so add an S, as much as 300 pounds. So those were our 4 errors in that sentence. So for today's video, go ahead and get out your list 24 and then your grammar lesson 94, which is on pages 295 and 296. So go ahead and get that out for this video. Right now you're going to need to have your grammar lesson 94 in front of you because we're going to go ahead and work on that together right now. So today we're going to be talking about doubling the final consonant. So whenever you double the final consonant, there's different rules that apply. So you could double the final consonant when a word ends in a single consonant that's following a vowel if a word is 1 syllable. So let me go ahead and pause this right there. And let's go ahead and look at some of these examples down here. So our first example is mop. So we have our word mop. And then, so if you look at this, then you see that mop is 1 syllable, right? And the way that I make identifying syllables easier is I use the clapping method. So like for the word mop, you do mop. You can tell that that is 1 syllable. If you look at the word admitted, you admitted. You can see that that's 3 syllables. So if you need to clap and figure out how many syllables the word is, that is totally fine. So back to this. So if we look at the word mop, we can see that this word mop is 1 syllable, right? Mop. Okay. So, and then we can see that the word mop ends with a consonant, because remember, A, E, I, O, U are vowels, and then everything else in the alphabet besides our vowels are known as consonants. So in the word mop, you can see that it ends with a consonant because P is a consonant, and the P is following a vowel, which is O. So we have a word that ends in a consonant, and it's following a vowel, and is also 1 syllable. It's a 1 syllable word, mop. So when all of these 3 things are happening, then we would double the final consonant in this word. So we would double the P, so we would double that, and then we would form the word mopping. So then mopping would be M-O-P-P-I-N-G. So that would be the correct spelling of that word. Okay, then if you look at the second example, our word is mad, and then we have a suffix of ER. So when we look at the word mad, let's go ahead and use our clapping technique for this word. So mad, that is also one syllable. So mad is a one syllable word, and it ends with a consonant, which is D, that's following a vowel, which is A. So since the word mad ends with a consonant that's following a vowel and is a one syllable word, we would have to double our final consonant, which is D. So then when we add our suffix, the word becomes madder, M-A-D-D-E-R. Okay, so now let's go back and look up here. It says you would also double a final consonant when a word has an accent on the last syllable and that accent remains after the suffix is added. So for example, let's go look back at the examples below. So if you look at the word compelling, so before I explain this one, I want you to know that whenever a syllable is accented, that just means that is the strongest syllable in the word. So if we look at this, the word we have a word compel and a suffix of ing. So let's see, compel. So we can see that when I say the word compel, say it with me, compel. You can see that the accented or the strongest syllable is our final syllable. It's the one at the end. It's our last syllable. So right now, before we add our suffix, our accented syllable on compel is the last syllable of that word. And when we add our suffix ing, the word becomes compelling. So let's say that word together, compelling. So do you hear that? Whenever you combine that suffix, the accented syllable moved, but it is still at the end of the word. Because now your accented syllable is ing, compelling. Do you hear that? So since our accented syllable was on the last syllable before we added our suffix, and now it remains on the last syllable after we added our suffix, then we would double the final consonant, which would be the L, when we add the suffix. So our word would become compelling with two L's, C-O-M-P-E-L-L-I-N-G. So the same thing goes for the last example, admitted. So when you say the word admit, you can hear that the strongest syllable is on that last syllable, admit, before you add the suffix. After you add the suffix, the syllable moves. The accented syllable moves, but it's still the last syllable of the word. So when you add the suffix ed to the word admit, you get admitted. So if you say that word admitted, that you can see that you can hear it. The accented syllable is also at the end of the word. It's the last syllable of the word. That's the one that's accented. So as you can see, for the word admit, it has an accented syllable on the last syllable before you add the suffix and even after you add the suffix. The accented syllable remains at the last syllable. Now we're going to talk about when we do not double the final consonant. So we do not double the final consonant when the suffix begins with the consonant. So I'm going to go over some examples with you guys. The examples are right here. And again, these examples are on lesson 94, which is on page 295, just so that y'all can follow along with me. So if you look at the word color, it has a suffix of full. So remember, it's saying that you don't double the final consonant when the suffix begins with the consonant. So if we look at the suffix, it's full, F-U-L. So this suffix begins with a consonant, because remember, A, E, I, O, U are all our vowels, and everything else in the alphabet besides our vowels, they're all known as consonants. So F is a consonant. So since our suffix begins with the consonant, we're not going to double the final consonant in color. We're just going to add that suffix to the word, so it becomes colorful, C-O-L-O-R-F-U-L. The same goes for kindness. The suffix begins with the consonant, which is in, so therefore we do not double the final consonant in the word kind, we would just add that suffix to the word and you would get kindness, Kindness. Now lastly, if you look at the word bad, if you look at our suffix, it also begins with a consonant because L is a consonant. So all you would do is just combine the suffix to the word bad. So it becomes badly, B-A-D-L-Y. Special cases. So we have a special case when the word ends in two L's and the suffix is ly. The suffix ly is added to that word. In this case, we would drop one L because we don't want three L's. That just doesn't look right. So some examples would be the word full. We have the word full and then our suffix is ly. So our word full, it ends in two L's. And then if you look at the suffix, our suffix is ly. So in this case, since we have a suffix of ly and then our word ends in two L's, we would drop one of these L's and then our word, when we add the suffix, would be fully with only two L's instead of three because remember we had to drop one of those L's. So you would spell it F-U-L-L-Y. And the same thing goes for this second example. The word is dull and then our suffix is ly. So remember when we have a suffix of ly and then we have a word that ends in two L's, we would drop one of the L's when adding the suffix. So for this word, it would become dully when we add the suffix with two L's, D-U-L-L-Y. Now we're going to learn about forming compound words. So this, forming compound words, this is a really simple lesson. It's a really simple rule. So when forming compound words, all you have to do is put the two words together. So all you're doing is just combining two words together to make a compound word. So you're keeping the spelling of the word, you're not changing anything, you're just combining the two words and making it into one compound word. So some examples are, the first example, I have book and then I have keeper. So I have two words. And in order to make them a compound word, all I'm going to do is just put these two words together, not going to change the spelling. I'm just going to combine these two words and make it into one word. So then it becomes bookkeeper. Same goes for back and pack. So you have two words, you have back and you have pack. And in order to make them a compound word, you just combine those two words together and it forms a compound word. Now back and pack, those two words now become one word and it is known as backpack. Before we move on to exercise 1, I just wanted to go over a couple more rules that lesson 94 didn't include. And that's only because it didn't include it because y'all went over this earlier in the year, but I just want to kind of refresh y'all's memory before we move on to the exercise. And this is in regards to doubling the final consonant. So some of the rules would be you do not double the final consonant if an accent is not on the last syllable or if the accent moves when the suffix is being added. So for example, if you look at the word refer, let's say that word out loud, refer. So our accent is on the last syllable of refer. And remember, our accented syllable, that's just our strongest syllable in the word. So it is on the last syllable. However, whenever we add our suffix to the word refer, when we add our suffix "ence" to the word refer, our accented syllable moves. So let's say that word, reference. So our accented syllable moved in the word reference after we added that suffix. So that's why when we combine the suffix with the word, we wouldn't double the final consonant, and you would just add your suffix to the word, so it'd be reference. Okay, another rule is you do not double your final consonant when a word already ends in two consonants. So for example, the word sing. The word sing ends in two consonants. Remember, our consonants are everything in the alphabet that isn't a vowel. So our word sing ends in two consonants because N is a consonant and G is a consonant. And so because it ends in two consonants, we wouldn't double the final consonant in the word. So when we add our suffix, we would just add it instead of doubling our final consonant in the word sing. So when we add our suffix, the word would become singer, S-I-N-G-E-R. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to exercise 1. I'm going to go ahead and do the first 5 problems with you guys, and then I'm going to have you finish the rest on your own. So if you look at exercise 1 on page 295 of lesson 94, it says, write in the blank the new word formed by combining the 2 words or word and suffix indicated. So all we're doing is just applying the rules that we just learned to exercise 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 1. Our word is retreat, and our suffix is ing. So let's go ahead and say that word out loud, retreat. Retreat. Okay, so when you say that word, you can tell that our accented syllable is not at the end of the word. It's not the last syllable. It's at the beginning of the word retreat. Re is your accented syllable. So since our accented syllable is not on the last syllable, then we would not double the final consonant in the word retreat. So when we combine these 2 words, we're just combining them. We're not adding, we're not doubling a consonant. So the word would be retreating, R-E-T-R-E-A-T-I-N-G. Okay, so let's look at number 2. Our word is count, and then our suffix is ed. So if you look at the word count, count ends with 2 consonants. So when a word ends in 2 consonants, you do not double the final consonant in the word. So you would just add your suffix. So the word would be counted, C-O-U-N-T-E-D, when you add your suffix. So again, you did not double the final consonant in the word count because the 2 final letters in the word count were consonants. So you would just add your suffix as is. Okay, so look at number 3. Number 3 is super easy. This is 2 words. So remember, whenever you have 2 words, this is a compound word. So whenever you're trying to form a compound word, you have 2 words. So all you have to do is just combine those 2 words that you have together, and that forms a compound word. So all we're doing is we're forming jack and we're forming knife. So again, those are 2 words, but we're going to combine them together to form a compound word. So it would be jackknife, 1 word. So all we did was just combine those 2 words together to form a compound word. So the word is jackknife. That is your answer for number. Okay, so let's look at number 4. Our word is unforgettable. Unforget is our word, and our suffix is able. So let's say the word unforget out loud. Unforget. So if you say that word, you can hear that unforget, that word ends with a accented syllable. So our last syllable is what's accented in the word unforget. And then whenever we add the suffix able, the word becomes unforgettable. So now let's say that word unforgettable out loud. Unforgettable. So as you can see, before we added the suffix, our word ended with an accented syllable. And even after we added our suffix able, it also ended with an accented syllable. So because of that, because we have a word that had an accent on the last syllable and still remained to have an accent on the last syllable after the suffix was added, because we have that, then we would not add, then we would add, we would double the consonant in unforget. So we would double that final consonant in the word unforget, so it would be 2 T's, and then the word would become unforgettable. So again, it has 2 T's, unforgettable. So again, for number 4, it had the word unforget, had a accent on the last syllable, and then it remained to have an accent on the last syllable when we added the suffix able. So the accent on the last syllable remained there after adding the suffix. Therefore, we doubled the final consonant in the word unforget. Okay, now let's look at number 5. So number 5, our word is ship, and then our suffix is ed. So if you look at the word ship, you can see that it is a one-syllable word, right? Ship, that's a one-syllable word. And then this word, it ends with a consonant that is following a vowel, because remember, P is a consonant, and then I is a vowel. So ship is it's a one-syllable word, and it ends with a consonant that follows a vowel. So since this is the case, we would have to double the final consonant in this word, which is P, when adding the suffix. So our word would become shipped, S-H-I-P-P-E-D. So we had to double the consonant, the final consonant in that word. We are going to be moving on now, and we're going to be talking about the general rules for forming plurals. Okay, so these rules, well, for one, it says most nouns. For most nouns, all you have to do is add an S. So in these examples, again, these are on your lesson 94, and that is on page 290. These examples are on page 296. Okay, so let's go ahead and look down at our first example, desks. Okay, well, desk is our noun. So for most nouns, it says we just add an S. So in this case, for the word desk, all we would have to do is just simply add an S to that noun. Okay, so then it says nouns ending in CH, S, SH, X, and Z. In order to make it plural, all we would do is just add an ES. So let's go back down and let's look at our second example. And our noun is fox. Okay, so for this one, fox ends in an X. And so for here, it's saying that nouns that end with a CH, S, SH, or X, such as the word fox or Z, in order to make it plural, we would just have to add an ES. So that's why we added the ES at the end of fox to make that word plural. Okay, so now let's look at this up here. Let's look up here. It says nouns ending in a consonant plus a Y. In that case, you would change the Y to an I and add an ES. So let's go back and look at our examples down here. So our third example, the noun was history. So I'm going to write that word, history. So we wanted to make the word history plural. And in order to do so, sorry, that Y looked a little funny. Okay, so to make the word history plural, well, this word history, it ends in a consonant, because R is a consonant, and it's followed by a Y. It ends in a consonant plus a Y. So since it ends in a consonant plus Y, we would need to change the Y to an I and add an ES in order to make history plural. So then the word becomes histories, and it's spelled H-I-S-T-O-R-I-E-S, because we had to change that Y to an I and add an ES in order to make the word, the noun history plural. Okay, now let's go back and look up here. It says nouns ending in LF. In order to make it plural, we would have to change the F to a V and add an ES. Okay, so let's look at this example. The noun was self, so I'm going to write self down here. So as you can see, self ends with an LF. So when a noun ends in an LF, then you would change that F to a V and then just add an ES to make it plural. So as you can see, self ended with an LS, so all we had to do was just change that F to a V and then add an ES to make it plural. And it became selves, S-E-L-V-E-S. Okay, lastly, it says nouns ending in F-E, change the F to a V and add an S. So let's look at our last example. The noun was knife. So I'm going to write knife down here. Actually, I'm going to write it over here, knife. So whenever we have a noun that ends in an FE, such as knife, then we would change the F to a V and then we would just simply add an S. So the word becomes knives, K-N-I-V-E-S. So again, knife ended with an F-E, so we just changed that F to a V, and we added an S to the end of that word, and it became knives, K-N-I-V-E-S, knives. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the special rule for forming plurals. Okay, so to form the plural of proper nouns and one-word compound nouns, all we're going to have to do is just follow the general rules for plurals. So that's all of the rules that we just went over. So those rules apply in this case as well. So, for example, let's go ahead and look at doormat, the example doormat. So a general rule is for most nouns, you just have to add S. That's just a general rule. We would just add S to make, in the case of doormat. So in order to make doormat plural, all we have to do is just add an S. So it would become, the plural word for doormat is doormats. So all we did there was just add an S. And that's just because in most nouns, all we have to do is just add an S. Okay, but if we look at the word blueberries, I'm going to write the singular word for blueberry out. Okay, so in order to make the word blueberry plural, so if you look at the word blueberry, you can see that it is a noun that ends with a consonant plus a Y, right? Because R is a consonant, and then it has a Y after that. So vowels that end in a consonant plus a Y, you would have to change the Y to an I and add an ES. So then the word becomes blueberries. That is the plural form of the word. So again, blueberry, the singular form, ended with a consonant plus a Y. So because of that, we had to change that Y to an I and add an ES in order to make that word plural. Okay, so let's go ahead and look back up here. It says to form the plural of hyphenated compound nouns or compound nouns of more than one word, we would make the most important word plural. So for example, Anderson's sister-in-law. Okay, so that is a hyphenated compound noun. So in order to make that plural, we would have to make the most important word plural. So in this hyphenated compound word, Anderson's sister-in-law, the most important words are Anderson and sister. So we would have to make Anderson plural, so we would add an S to Anderson, and then we would add an S to sister, because those are the two most important words in this hyphenated compound noun. So again, with hyphenated compound nouns, all you're doing is just making the most important words plural. So that's what we did there. And same goes for compound nouns of more than one word, such as this example. Montez, before we add the plural, it's Montez Secretary of Defense. So in order to make that plural, all we're doing is just making the most important words plural. So Montez is an important word and secretary is an important word. So all we did was just make those words plural. And that's how you form plural words out of hyphenated compound word nouns or compound nouns of more than one word.